So the first thing we often demonstrate in a face-to-face class with the microscope is the appropriate way to hold and carry the microscope. This Olympus microscope has a handle on the back where you can put one hand, and then the other hand always goes underneath the base. Okay. This particular microscope does not have any cord management system in the back. So when you get this out of the microscope cabinet, it usually has the cord wrapped around the base in some way. You would keep it wrapped to carry the microscope because you don't want it dragging and you don't want to trip over it while you're carrying the microscope. We don't want to jar any of the optics, so we set the microscope down gently, and when we want to move the microscope, we pick it up and move it. There's a brrr sound that it makes when you just drag it across the table. We don't want to vibrate the optics, so we try to avoid doing that whenever possible. We try to lift it and move it. That's one of the reasons why each student gets their own microscope to use. You can work in partners and move back and forth, but you won't need to do that extensively if each person has their own microscope. When you are ready to use the microscope, you want to make sure that the plug is pushed into the back all the way, and then plug it into the desk or the wall outlet that you're using. Here's the power switch. Hopefully the person before you made sure to turn the light off so that when you plug it in, the light doesn't come on automatically. It's hard on the bulb if you unplug it while the bulb is still on and plug it in while the bulb is still on. So it's ideal to have it turned off until you plug it in, and then you can use the light switch to turn on the light source. This is the light adjustment dial, so you can adjust the light intensity. So if you look here at the light as I turn that up and down, and we're going to talk later in this lab about 3 ways to adjust the light intensity. When you look into a microscope, it should not be too bright. And it shouldn't be so glaring that it gives you a headache after an hour or 2 hours in the lab. All day use of the microscope can cause some eye strain, but the limited amount of time that we use it in a lab, it shouldn't give you a bad headache. It shouldn't be too bright. Okay, after everybody gets out their microscope and plugs their microscope in and turns their microscope on, the next lab exercise is to go through the parts of the microscope. So here we have ocular lenses. Ocular has to do with the eye. These are the lenses that you look into. And our microscopes that we use in college level labs are usually binocular microscopes, and so they have 2 ocular lenses. That's attached to the head, and some microscopes have a rotating head where you may have to rotate that away in order to fit it into the microscope cabinet and then rotate it into position to view it. Then the base of the microscope is the part that it sits on, and then this part is called the arm of the microscope. So usually when you describe how you carry the microscope, you say one hand on the arm and one hand on the base. This is the rotating nose piece or revolving nose piece. When we're in lab, I say, okay, everybody, repeat after me. Rotating nose piece. And everyone goes, rotating nose piece. And I say, so when you see it on your lab exam, there's not going to be an excuse that you've never heard it before, because you've not only heard it, but you've said it. And I put it on the exam, and it usually has about a 60% pass rate. It holds these objective lenses into place and allows you to rotate each objective lens into place when you're ready to use it. It has this textured rubberized part right here. That's what you pull on to rotate the nose piece. If you pull on the objectives each time you want to rotate it, you're slowly unscrewing an objective lens. This is the stage. This is where the microscope slide sits. And this is a mechanical stage. It has a knob right here. So when I move the top button, or the top part of the knob, the stage moves forward and back. And when I move the bottom part of the knob, the slide will move sideways. On this particular microscope, that particular aspect is broken, but it would move this metal piece right and left. This is the demo microscope is one where not all the parts are moving the way they should. Immediately under the stage is the condenser. And I'm going to use this condenser knob to move the condenser up and down. And you can see that that condenser moves up and down as I turn this knob. Okay, that's going to help condense the light. And inside of the condenser is an iris diaphragm. And so if I slide that back and forth, you can see that we are adjusting the light because it opens and closes a diaphragm inside that condenser. So raising and lowering the condenser affects the light, and opening and closing that iris diaphragm affects the light. This is our actual light source. You want it to be all the way open. You want to control the light that comes out of here by controlling the condenser and the iris diaphragm and controlling the light intensity. You won't ever turn this except to make sure that your light is all the way open.